Hello everyone. Justin Crumley here with another installment of CuJo's Corner. It's been a while since I've been able to sit down and do this. First and foremost, I apologize for that. I know I say this a lot, but my schedule's been very hectic. I've been working and just trying to get a schedule down for my YouTube channel. I am really trying, and I do apologize for the lack of uploads, but trust me when I say it, I am going to make an honest effort to be better about it, especially with the podcast. I have a lot of ideas and stuff to talk about, so I'm going to definitely make it an effort to get a lot better with uploading installments of the podcast, so you can expect more installments of CuJo's Corner coming up. As far as other videos and whatnot, we'll see. I have a few ideas here and there, but for the most part, I'm going to try to stick to getting CuJo's Corner out there as much as I can to you guys. So, again, I'm sorry about the long break I took. It's just been pretty hectic, a lot of things going on. So, but I'm back, and I'm here to talk. But before I get on to the topic for today's installment, I do want to briefly talk about Chadwick Boseman. I'm sure everyone's heard by now. He unfortunately has passed away from stage 4 colon cancer. I'm sure everybody also knows he was, Black Panther. He was Jackie Robinson in the movie 42. He was, just everything I gather about him. He was a really, really nice guy. Did a lot of great things. Really good actor. It really was heartbreaking to hear the awful news, and I guess the only thing I can say is my thoughts, my sympathies, and my condolences go out to Chadwick Boseman's family. He will definitely be missed. The MCU is not going to be the same without him. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever. Okay, so now let's get into the topic I wanted to talk about today. And that is about the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, Avatar: The Last Airbender has kind of seen somewhat of a resurgence in popularity ever since it got the series in its entirety was put on Netflix. Then, just I think a couple weeks ago, Legend of Korra was put on there. And we also got some pretty bad news about the live-action Netflix series. I'll touch upon that later after I talk about the show, the cartoon, not the crappy M. Night Shyamalan movie, but the series. We're not gonna talk about the live-action movie at all. So, anywho, let's talk about the show. There really are not enough good things I can say about this show. It's honestly one of the best shows I've ever watched in my entire life. Everything down from the animation to the style, the substance, storytelling, character development. It's a complete package as far as all of that goes. It's it's honestly, like I said, one of the best shows I've ever watched in my whole life. Easily one of my favorites, without a doubt. I think it's up there with, like, Batman the Animated Series, Transformers Prime, another great show. Yeah, I also really like Spectacular Spider-Man. I think Avatar is a better show, probably because it got to actually finish, but, still. The point is, Avatar The Last Airbender, easily one of my favorite shows of all time, and honestly, if I had to speak from a critical perspective, I mean, like I just said, all the animation style, substance, character development, all that stuff, it's all top-notch. It's fantastic. There's very little to really hate or dislike about this show. Outside of, say, for maybe like a few nitpicks here and maybe, a few things that may or may not have made any sense. But, I mean, this is a show about people that have this ability to bend the elements at their will. So, I mean, half of the show doesn't make sense already, but as I said, very little to hate or dislike about it. I guess that depends what your opinion of the episode The Great Divide is, because that's universally among Avatar fans to be one of the most hated episode. And yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's not one of my favorites. I think it's just kind of like that ending kind of just essentially kneecapped any kind of like, I don't know, like, it's hard to explain because I'm not trying to sound like TV shows should be preaching to people when they talk, but like, there's always a message that's being sent with storytelling, and I feel like the message in The Great Divide was just kind of like, it wasn't well sent or delivered. It wasn't well delivered. It essentially just kind of kneecapped any potential that it had with that ending, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to talk about some of my favorite episodes and some of the best moments in the show. I got the list of episodes pulled up here. I'm going to try to stay in order as far as, like, favorite episodes and moments. I don't want to get too scattered and, just end up losing my train of thought, because then I'll start repeating myself, and I definitely don't want that. So, anywho, I got an episode list right here. Let's see, Southern Air Temple. So, I remember this one. This one was the one where they find, Monkey Atso's skeleton. We get I believe this is the episode where we get introduced to Admiral Zhao, or I guess he's Commander Zhao at that point. He hadn't gotten promoted yet, and Zuko faces him in an Agni Kai. Really good episode. This was the episode, I mean, like I like the first. I like the first two. They were good, but, episode 3 was where this show really showed me that this is a lot more mature than your average Nickelodeon show, because you literally see Monkey Atso's skeleton, and it's downright disturbing. I mean, really, it looks like the animation, it's really creepy. It looks like a mummified corpse was just laying there for years and just eventually decayed into bones. And when you think about it, from Aang's perspective, he was only 12 years old and he saw that. It's not a wonder he went into the Avatar state, like, almost right away. And that was, like, the first time we ever saw it. That was kind of when he discovered that he was the last Airbender. And like I said, this was the episode where the show really showed it was more mature than the average Nickelodeon show. And yeah, I think this was the episode that really, like, kind of hooked me. Next one, Warriors of Kiyoshi. This one was fun. that was a fun episode because we're introduced to Suki. Sokka kind of gets put in his place when he's being a misogynistic asshole. It's a fun episode. Introduces Suki, like I said, one of the coolest characters in the show. Yeah, and also it also showed. I think it was actually a pretty strong episode for Sokka as well, because it played around, because we'd seen him before saying leave it to a girl to screw things up when him and Katara at episode 1, and Katara called him a sexist, immature, whatever. And yeah, he was kind of being a misogynistic asshole in this episode, and it was just really cool to kind of see him get put in his place, and rather than stick to his guns and keep being an asshole, he was a little bit humbled by it. And he came back, he trained under him, and he actually passed up Suki. I guess he didn't pass her up, but he got her. He eventually knocked her down, and yeah, so yeah, I think that was actually a pretty strong episode for Sokka, as well as introducing us to Suki, and then you have that thing with Aang letting all that Avatar stuff go to his head. Overall, just a really fun episode. Let's see, we're gonna keep moving on here. Let's see. The Storm. This was the 12th episode in the first season. What can I say about this episode that has not already been said? This is easily one of the best episodes in the whole series. It really shows the dynamic between Aang and Zuko. It kind of relates the main protagonist and the main antagonist. And in a way, it actually kind of sets up Zuko's eventual turn. It shows us that he actually had a conscience at one point. And I mean, he does. He has a conscience. He does actually care about the crew around him, and trying to defend, when he spoke out of term at that war meeting, when that general suggested sending soldiers in on a suicide mission, and his dad challenged him. Fire Lord Ozai challenged him to an Agni Kai, and that's how we find out. That's how Zuko got his face burned, and why he's so stingy, and why he's kind of a prick in all honesty. And it also shows how Aang handled finding out that he was the Avatar. They tell him when he was 12 rather than he was 16, which was traditionally when they told the Avatar that they were the Avatar. But the monks, I guess, they foresaw the war, the 100-Year War that was coming up. Maybe not the 100-Year War, but they were talking about they had to tell Aang because time just was not on their side at that point. They had I forget what the explanation was, but basically they had a foreboding future, talking about how the Fire Nation was gonna attack, and I don't think they said the Fire Nation specifically, but in any case, they tell Aang that he's the Avatar. They tell him that he they don't tell him, but they grab a hold of Monkey Gyatso and they tell him, all right, well, we're gonna separate the two of you. We're gonna send Aang to, I think it was the Eastern Air Temple, to complete his training, his airbending training. Which is strange because he already had his tattoos. Doesn't that mean he's a master? But I guess they were, I guess for the Avatar you have to master all 4 elements. So maybe there was some more airbending things that he had to master. I don't know, but they also show how the impact of when he finds out that he's the Avatar. The kids, he tries to play with the rest of the kids, and they're like, oh, we can't, well, we can't play with you because, like, if you're on one team or the other, it's kind of unfair because you're the Avatar. So it kind of shows, like, yeah, like the Avatar, you can do all four types of bending, but it's not always what it's cracked up to be, especially when you're a kid. You have all this responsibility thrusted on you, and it's a lot to handle. And we all know, everybody knows the story. He flies away on his sky bison. He gets caught in a storm, him and Appa, and they go inside. They end up underwater, and he freezes them in a block of ice. Then 100 years later, Katara and Sokka discover him. That kind of thing. But yeah, the storm is one of the best episodes in the entire show. Cannot say enough good things about it. Definitely a recommended episode if I do say so myself. Oh, the next episode, the Blue Spirit. This one was pretty cool. It was interesting because this one was also kind of foreshadowing that Zuko was gonna eventually turn good because he breaks in and saves Aang from Commander Zhao. Actually, I think this is the episode he gets promoted to Admiral, so Admiral Zhao. Now, obviously, at the time, the viewer's thinking like, oh, he's only saving Aang so he can capture him later. But when you watch the whole series, it almost kind of, at least for me, I always thought like this was just clever storytelling, and I wouldn't put it past the writers to have done that on purpose, to foreshadow that yes, one day these two are gonna be allies. They're gonna work together. They're gonna, Zuko is gonna be Aang's firebending teacher, and yeah, that'd be that. Also, it was just really cool to see Zuko, like doing all this without using his firebending. It really gives you a sense like this guy, he knows how to fight. He's trained. He's damn good at what he does, and yeah, just another good episode. Can't say enough about it. The Deserter. Not gonna really say much about this one. This one stood out to me because it was the episode where Aang and the gang, that rhymes, Team Avatar, they run into Jong Jong, who was Aang's first firebending teacher. And, at first he's very reluctant to teach Aang about firebending because he hadn't learned water and earth, which, both hold some kind of basic discipline. And it would actually make sense after I rewatched this episode. It almost made sense for Jong Jong to be like, no, fire is not something to fuck around with. You cannot. It ain't like water or earth. It's not something that creates. It's mostly something that destroys. Like, fire can be very dangerous. And, eventually we see it. Aang is incredibly impatient. He's not listening to Jong Jong, and he's screwing around, and he eventually burns Katara. And this is also where we find out Katara's got healing abilities. I guess really the most interesting thing about this episode was, like, it was just cool to see, like, not everyone in the Fire Nation was bad. I mean, we kind of had the idea with, like, Iro, I guess, at this point. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say because I've rewatched this show so many times, and I know from hindsight, like, Iro was always more or less, like, good. But yeah, it was just cool to see like an episode dedicated to an actual, like, soldier from the Fire Nation. I think he was a soldier in the Fire Nation that eventually was just like, no, this is wrong. And I almost wonder if Jong ever stumbled across the Sun Warriors and learned the true meaning of firebending. And that's like where he gets his thing. I maybe that is the case. Maybe that isn't. Maybe he kind of put it together himself eventually. I don't know. That's just a theory. But anywho, the last couple episodes I want to talk about are the two-parters, The Siege of the North, Part 1 and 2. Just, really cool way to end the first season. There was a lot of awesome moments, like when Iro was screaming at Admiral Zhao, whatever you do to that spirit, I'll unleash on you tenfold. Let it go now. Like, it was just fucking awesome seeing a guy like Iro barking fucking commands at this asshole with the overgrown sideburns. Then you have Sokka and Yue with their little thing. And Yue, I think, is a cool character on her own merit. Granted, she's only in these 2 episodes. There isn't really much to her besides her becoming the Moon Spirit, the new Moon Spirit, after Admiral Zhao kills the original Moon Spirit. We're also introduced to Ko, the Face Stealer, in this in this two-parter. I'm not sure if that's part 1 or part 2 that we see him in, but what a freaky ass concept for a spirit. So then you got that big moment at the end where Aang and the ocean spirit, they merge and they just start wiping out the Fire Nation. Then the ocean spirit takes Admiral Zhao, excuse me. Zuko also's got some Zuko also has some really cool moments when him and Zhao go at it, and he tries to save Zhao. Again, reaching back to Zuko actually having a conscience. Zhao refuses it, and we actually see him in Legend of Korra, like briefly. Just to give you an idea of what happens to him. These were pretty cool. This was a cool 2-parter. Like I said, kind of a fun way to end season 1. Was it perfect? No, but didn't really leave a lasting impression. It had some cool moments, but I think book 2's finale was better, but we'll get to that. Speaking of book 2, we're going to talk about book 2, the Avatar State. This is the first episode of season 2, or book 2 if you prefer. And what I really like about this episode was that it showed that not everybody from the Earth Kingdom was a good guy. Not everyone in the Earth Kingdom was good. You have this nut, General Fong, I think his name was, trying to get, force Aang into the Avatar State. But, Aang obviously can't control it, and he's like, oh, people are dying, and this and that, and such and such. Then he literally, almost kills Katara to get Aang to go into the Avatar State, and it's just outside of that, the episode is kind of average at best. I think this is also the episode where, I think, Zuko, Iroh's sitting in a hot tub, and he gets captured by some... Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, that's the Spirit episode from season 1. I'm getting it mixed up. Actually, what happens with Zuko and Iroh in this episode? I think this is the one where Zula shows up and tries to bring them home, and just ends up, the guy slips and says, we're taking the prisoners home, and then Zuko and Iroh at the end of the episode, they basically cut their their ponytails off, and pretty much break their allegiance to the Fire Nation at that point. And that's what that's supposed to represent. So I got a little mixed up there, but so yeah, like I said, pretty average episode, but it had some interesting dynamics. A lot of interesting stuff happened, and it had some good moments. Avatar Day. This one is, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this one. I just thought this one was kind of funny to see, like, there's this town of people that don't like the Avatar because because Avatar Kiyoshi killed, Jin the Conqueror, and, this town of people, like, they worship Jin the Conqueror as like a hero. So there's kind of some, like, propaganda-ish things going on here. But yeah, this episode was interesting because it was just funny to see, like, Sokka acting like a detective, and him getting pissed off at Katara whenever she's, like, putting together some of these, like, does this pipe and hat not mean anything to you? I want to solve it and stuff. It's so freaking funny, like, to watch these two bicker at each other. Other than that, though, the episode's, it's, like I said, it's pretty average at best. I mean, it's good, but not a favorite. It's got some funny moments, got some interesting things going. But I want to talk about the next episode, the Blind Bandit. This is the episode that we're introduced to Toph in. And yeah, Toph is freaking amazing. Toph is hilarious. She's bratty. She's got a bad attitude. She's stubborn. I mean, she's basically everything that they say about earthbenders. Also, she had this... What made her, like, so interesting was the fact that she had the ability... I forget, they have a name for it. I think it's, like, called, like, seismic hearing or something, where she essentially uses her earthbending to see, like, feels out the vibrations kind of thing. And it's a really interesting concept. And actually, in a previous episode, King Boomy actually told Aang that he would need to find an earthbending teacher that would teach him to wait and listen. And that's essentially what Toph was doing when she faced off against the Boulder. One of the coolest fucking characters, side characters in Avatar. And actually, fun fact, I think they actually wanted to get The Rock to do his voice, but I don't think they could because it was just too costly. That would have been freaking awesome, though. The Rock doing the Boulder's voice, and just watching these earthbender guys acting like wrestlers, and Sokka's getting into it, like throwing rocks at the one dude that's doing the Nikolai Volkov thing where he, like, sings the Fire Nation national anthem. And like I said, kind of like reminiscent of Nikolai Volkov back when he was wrestling. He would always, I think, start and end every match by singing the Russian national anthem or some shit. It was just like a cheap way to get heel heat, and it was really fun to watch all this. And what really stands out is when they call Toph the Blind Bandit, Katara even makes a mention of saying, like, she can't really be blind. That's just part of her character, right? And no, it turns out she actually is blind. And, yeah, and then, she shows her abilities when her and Aang get captured. Also, one of the funniest moments in that part where, I think it's her mom or her dad are like, oh my god, where she is? She's probably so scared. And the next thing, she's like screaming at one of the dudes, like, why don't you take me down from this cage so I'll wipe that smirk off your face? The guy's like, I'm not smiling. It's just little moments like that. It's just hilarious. I love it. I love the comedy in this show. Toph is absolutely hilarious. Added so much to this show. A lot of people actually, I've actually seen some people say she carried the show. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think every character in the show pulled their equal weight, but she definitely is a fan favorite for sure. And like I said, I think she's hilarious. I think she's fucking awesome. Oh, the next episode, Zuko alone. Okay, so Zuko is my favorite character in this show. I love his arc. I've always loved how he starts from one part and goes and he ends on like almost the polar opposite of where he started. It was always very interesting to me. And this episode is like a giant love letter to Zuko fans. I mean, he's in that Earth Kingdom city. He's riding on that ostrich horse. And I he stands up to those guards. That always like bully people and push them around, kind of abuse their power, so to speak. And he ends up with that family. He's helping the guy hammer some nails into the roof. There's also a moment before that where he sees like a family, or he sees that man and the woman or he sees a man and a woman, and they're like setting up camp, and he goes to like mug him. He pulls his swords out, but then he sees that the woman is pregnant, and he's like, oh shit, oh nope, gotta move on. It's little moments like that. It's like, wow, this, you truly get the sense that Zuko was not evil. He wasn't a bad guy. He just felt like he was put on this path because he felt like he didn't have a choice. He felt like he didn't, it was his destiny. That was what he had to do. He had to do these horrible things. But, like I said, little moments like that shows that he has a conscience. I loved it. When he's out in the field, you also see flashbacks to his childhood, which is really interesting. We get a sense of how close he was to his mom. We see Zula was just as horrible as a kid as she is now. We also, this is also like, they show how everybody reacted when Iro lost his son, Lu-10, and it's just God, it's such a heartbreaking kind of thing. It's a really good episode overall. And then he's out in the field with that kid, and he's showing him that thing with the broadswords. And he's showing him how to wield them. Don't ever think of them as separate, because they're not. They're two halves of the same blade, kind of thing. And the kid's telling him about his brother. Says like, I really think you'd like my brother. He used to show me stuff like this all the time, And it's just really nice to see Zuko, this character that's just been like pounded into the ground and absolutely just has nothing good going for him. Now he's got this. He's got a family that's kind of taken, not pity, but they fed him. They let him crash at their place for the night, and they're treating him like an actual human being. not even knowing who he is, who he really is. And yeah, then the ending happens. He gets into a fight with those guards because they took the other son from the family, and we actually get news that the kid's older brother ended up dying in the war, and it kind of like relates Zuko to it almost shows the parallels between like Zuko when he was a kid and he found out that his cousin Luten died, and this kid finding out his older brother died in the war. And it's just really sad, and it's so cleverly written. Seeing Zuko fight the soldiers, and he eventually firebends and beats the guards, and pretty much says, I am Prince Zuko, heir to the throne, son of Ursa and Fire Lord Ozai. And just instantly everyone turns on him. Everyone that saw him stand up to these guards, they're like, really? Fuck this guy, he's a firebender. He goes to give the kid the knife that he gave him, that his uncle actually sent him. And yeah, the kid's like, oh no, I hate you. And it's like, this guy just saved your fucking life, kid. Like, what the fuck? You almost feel like, you really do feel bad for Zuko in a way. Like, but at the same time, you understand why the Earth Kingdom people are reacting this way, because firebenders have not been good to them. They've been doing this war for for all these years. And they're just, it's like I said, it's really cleverly written. Besides the storm, it's probably one of my favorite episodes in the entire series. The Tales of Ba Sing Se. This is the next episode I want to talk about. This is interesting because it's like a collection of different stories following each character in their what they're doing in Ba Sing Se. So I guess like individually I can talk about each one individually. You got the first one where it's basically just Katara and Toph having like a girls' day out kind of thing. We get some pretty good moments out of them. Up to that point, they kind of like bickered all the time, and it was just nice to see the two characters like kind of getting along and bonding. And we get that really deep moment from Toph where she says like, this is actually kind of nice. Like I don't really get to do this often, but this ain't bad. And like she basically talks about how one of the better things about being blind is she doesn't have to worry about her appearance. And it's just really deep, and it kind of shows like a bit of a softer side to a character that's very like hard and stubborn. And I like moments like that. I like moments where a character that's generally like stubborn and just like they're kind of like stoic, they're stone as far as emotions go, and even they kind of open up a bit. Those are really like, I think those are really endearing moments because they're just super important. So it's just really cool. It's a neat little story. Not my favorite one in the Tales of Ba Sing Se. Let's see. Next we have the Tale of Iro. You know what? I'll talk about that one last because that probably is my favorite, and it probably is the best one. I don't even think I have to talk about it. I just mention it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But the Tale of Aang, he does that thing with the animals. I just didn't. I honestly kind of check out of that one whenever that part comes up. It's just, I don't know. It's just Aang doing nice little things. Nothing about it to me really stands out. So anyway, Tale of Sokka, that one's kind of funny. He goes to that poetry club, the haiku, and he accidentally screws up, and he at the end of it, he goes like toe to toe with that one lady. And it's almost like Avatar's version of like a rap battle, I guess. It's really funny. And then, like Sokka ends up putting this lady in her place, and he does a little celebratory thing, but he uses too many syllables, and this big bulky ass like security guard like grabs him. He's like, "Oh, that's one too many syllables there, bub." And he just like throws him out the window. It's just so funny. It's really funny, and like I said, it's kind of like Avatar's version of a rap battle, which is interesting. And it's funny. I really enjoyed that one. The Tale of Zuko. It's, he goes on a date with that girl who, like, at first he suspects, like, "Uncle, that girl, she knows we're Fire Nation. I know she knows." And he goes, "Yes, I've seen her in here a lot. Seems that she has quite the crush on you." And he's like, "What? No." And yeah, she asks him out. They go on a date. It's like I said, it's kind of nice to see like Zuko actually having somewhat of a good time with some girl. Then she kisses him, and he just kind of dips on her. He's like, and it just kind of happens out of nowhere. From what I gather, they do meet up again, like in the comic books. I don't know where in the continuity exactly, but I think it's like shortly before they leave Ba Sing Se after they take it over. I'm not at the Fire Nation takes it over. I'm not sure again. But he just kind of dips on her, and and he tells his uncle, it was nice, it was nice, and yeah, it's like you really just get the sense that like Zuko just really didn't know how to react. Like again, he's thinking like like why am I starting to feel like like this? Why am I starting to like he's changing? You can tell, and yeah, he obviously he doesn't know how to handle all this stuff going on at once, and it's a lot. So yeah, it's like I said, it was nice to see this character who had been through so much actually have a night where he gets to have a little bit of fun. He goes on a date. It's good. The Tale of Momo. Honestly, I hardly remember anything from this. I know Momo, like at the end, I do remember the end of it where he lays in Appa's footprint, like he's looking for Appa, and he ends up getting captured by some, I don't know, some merchants, and he frees like these cats that were gonna eat him earlier or some shit. Honestly, like I said, I don't remember like too much from this one. But I want to end talking about this episode with the best, save the best for last kind of thing. I actually already mentioned it, the Tale of Iro. Wow, this one is a gut punch of emotions. It starts the most of the episode follows Iro just doing good little things for the people around him. You get the sense like he's a genuinely nice guy, and he just wants to see nothing but good all around him and everybody doing good. I mean, there's so many little moments, like there's he's buying the little waste paper, the little basket to do for his son's tribute that he's putting together. And then there's that kid crying over like something. He just comes playing his little banjo, singing for the kid. And he gets him to stop crying. Like I said, he's just making everybody around him happy. He's playing around with them kids, and they break that window, and he goes, the honorable thing in this situation is to always admit fault and take responsibility for your actions. And then, like, this big-ass dude, like, looks out the window, and he's like, when I'm through with you kids, the window ain't gonna be the only thing that's broken. And he goes, but not this time. Run! And it's just so fucking funny because it's like the last thing you would expect Iro to say. But no, he's like, oh my god, no way, get out of here. This guy's gonna kill all of us. So it's got its funny moments. Then he's getting mugged by that skinny dude who's like standing awkwardly at him. And, he teaches him how to properly mug, like, what are you doing? Your stance is off. And he just, like, shoves him over and takes his knife. And he shows him, like, with a more solid stance, you're a better... Like, dude, you're literally teaching this guy how to mug. Like I said, it's so funny to see... to the great lengths that Iro will go to make everyone around him to like benefit the people around him, even if they're trying to mug him. He doesn't care. He's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna teach you how to properly mug. But yeah, then they have that moment where he's like, but you do not seem like the mugging type, to be honest. And he goes, oh, I know, I'm just confused. And they have tea, and, it kind of does that fade in to kind of show they've been talking for a while. And first thing you hear is the guy saying, like, oh, so you really think I could be a good masseur? And he goes, oh, of course. And he goes, like, this is great. No one's ever believed in me. And I love the quote that Iro says to him. I'm gonna try to do it off the top of my head here. He says something like, while it is always important to believe in oneself, a little help from others is a true blessing, or something to that effect. And yeah, I think that's something we all can kind of take away from, I think yes, it is important to believe in yourself, because nobody is going to believe in you more than yourself, and you have to live up to your full potential, kind of thing. But it really does help when the people around you are encouraging. It really does go a long way. But now let's talk about the real gut punch here. The end of this episode, well, this part of the episode, not the episode itself, but the ending of this particular story, where you see Iro setting up that little tribute for his son, Luten. And he, it's his son's birthday, and he's just like, happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you. And he starts singing the song, Leaves from the Vine. It's such a sad, really sad moment. It's, and then you get the thing that says in honor of Mako. I don't remember his last name, but it was Iroh's voice actor who had passed away. So God, that episode, it starts off more or less like happier and more optimistic, and it ends on more of a like sad, somber kind of note. But you really get the sense of Iroh's character here. You just, everything you need to know. This is a character that has experienced tragedy. He's been through a lot in his life, And to see him as joyful and happy as he is, it's so heartbreaking to see everything that he's gone through in his whole life. So yeah. All right, last couple episodes I want to talk about are the Guru and the Crossroads of Destiny. So the Guru is the episode where everyone on everyone on Team Avatar is kind of doing their own thing. You know, you got Sokka going to meet his dad. You got Aang going to take the next step in the Avatar journey and open up his chakra so that he can master the Avatar state, or go into it and like maintain it. Let's see. What else happens? You got Katara planning the invasion of the Fire Nation on what eventually becomes known as the Day of Black Sun. Obviously this is the original plan that they were having to put together with the Earth Kingdom, the armies to invade the Fire Nation on the day of the solar eclipse, because Fire Nation would lose all their firebending. They would lose essentially what made them so powerful. And God, what else is going on in this episode? Oh, you have Zuko and Iro. You know, Iro opened up a tea shop, and they're serving tea to everybody. And it's, you know, it's you see Zuko, and he's so happy at this point, and it's so great to see. It's like, wow, like you get the sense like, wow, he really has changed, you know. And is that it? Oh, you also have Toph, who gets a letter from her quote unquote mom. I don't know if it's actually from her mom or not, but it ends up being like actually I don't think it is, because it ends up being a trap. I'm not sure if they ever specified if that was from her mom for real or not, but she ends up getting captured by her original earthbending teacher, and I think the guy that ran like the wrestling thing that I was talking about earlier. They capture her. She ends up. It's actually also where she learns how to metal bend. So, I think that's Crossroads of Destiny where she learns that ability. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which episode it is. But basically, the ending of the Guru, Aang has this vision that like Katara's in danger. He ends up leaving. It's almost like Star Wars, like when Luke senses that his friends are in danger and he runs off before finishing his training. And like the similarities are just downright eerie in a way. It's really good. It's a good episode. And then you have the Crossroads of Destiny. This one is absolutely insane. I mean, you have Zuko gets captured by the Dai Li, gets thrown into that crystal catacombs along with Katara. Actually, they're not. I don't think they're catacombs. I think that's the wrong word to use. But they're in that prison with all those like emeralds and like things and whatnot, and they're talking. They're kind of bonding, and he tells her about the scar that he has on his face, and how he always said like it always marked him. The mark of the banished prince, cursed to chase the Avatar forever, kind of thing. And you really get a sense that it's like this is a character that is kind of at a point in his life where he's like, I really am like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do anymore. Like, At one point, I thought it was pretty obvious, but now I'm not so sure. And then you have Aang and Sokka and Toph all end up back in Ba Sing Se. Aang or Toph and Katara go to warn the Earth King, and then we find out. Now we knew before that Azula, Ty Lee, and May had infiltrated the Earth Kingdom capital, dressed as Kiyoshi warriors, and basically Toph and Sokka end up losing a fight to him because Azula holds the Earth King hostage. They all get thrown in jail, that kind of thing. Toph actually, now I remember, she does master, she invents metal bending the episode before, and I think that's how they break out of the prison. Is at that point there were no metal benders, so it was just one of those things where it's like they didn't even think about it. So, yeah, the ending of this episode where Zuko, you have Azula and Iro basically telling Zuko two different things, and it actually harkens back to an episode where I think it was when Zuko released Appa from being imprisoned by Long Fang. He ends up freeing Appa, and he passes out. He's going through like a metamorphosis, and during that metamorphosis, you have this scene where you have this blue dragon that's supposed to represent Azula. You have, and then you have this red dragon that's representing Iro, and and then there's this scene in the Crossroads of Destiny at the end where you have Zula and Iro bouncing back and forth between Zuko, and Zuko, at first it seems like he's gonna align with Aang and Katara against Azula, but then you see him move, like he looks at Aang and then he starts firebending straight at Aang. I remember when I first saw this episode, I hated that Zuko went back to being evil. I was like, really? That sucks. Like, come on. But now that every time I watch it, it's like, you know what? I think that was the better move to do. Because I think it actually benefited both the story and Zuko's character in the long run a lot more. Gave him more turmoil. It also gave us one of the best scenes in the show, and I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I think him actually siding with Azula was to the show's benefit, because it just gave him more turmoil, and it gave him more like depth, I think. And we were able to finally see him get everything he wanted, and he it's essentially like watching him like grow in a way. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, like I said, when I was younger, I hated it. I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. He should have like turned right there and then. It would have been cooler. But no, I definitely, I've kind of flipped my opinion on that. Also, like, Ba Sing Se falls to the Fire Nation. Aang almost gets killed in the Avatar state, and we learned previous that if the Avatar dies in the Avatar state, the cycle is broken, and the Avatar is never reincarnated properly. So, yeah, like, to see all this going on, the protagonists are in a spot where it's like there is no hope. The Fire Nation has effectively just won the war. They pretty much just took over the entire Earth Kingdom. It's over. It's such a fucking amazing way to end the season. This, like, I mean, we had to wait when it first aired, we had to wait a whole, like, year before the new season came out. And it was just like, holy shit. Like, that's how you do a cliffhanger, so to speak. So anyway, moving on to book 3, Fire. This is, personally, it's my favorite of the seasons, which is rare. Usually, like, shows have a tendency to get progressively worse. I think this show actually got progressively better, and I think season 3, or, again, book 3 if you prefer, I think it kind of kept that trend going. So let's talk about the first episode of the season, The Awakening. This is where Aang wakes up after being, zapped by a Zula. And, he wakes up, he's on a Fire Nation ship, and he thinks, like, oh my god, I've been captured by the Fire Nation. And, he's, like, running away. And, they come to find out they had actually raided and took over a Fire Nation ship. And Aang was unconscious for so long, he actually grew hair. So that was kind of funny to see that, a not bald Aang. And I mean, watching him kind of put all this stress, all this pressure on himself, where he's like, I failed the world. I couldn't stop the Fire Nation from taking Ba Sing Se. I'm a failure. And I have to go to the Fire Nation by myself. I have to finish this, by myself kind of thing. And it's just one of it's really heavy. It's such a heavy, like, note to start on, for what I think is eventually, becomes the best season in the show. At least in my opinion. That's just, my opinion. Sokka's Master. That's a pretty good episode. I like that one because we're introduced to Pian Dao, who, like, the Sword Master. It was really cool. I know Sokka, he already had he had, like, his boomerang. He had a, he was, like, the planner, the map guy, really intelligent, all that kind of stuff. I actually think, giving him, like, this cool, like, black-bladed sword, he called it his space sword, it was just really cool. And like I said, Pian Dao is an awesome character. This dude is such a badass. He's like that wise swordsman kind of character, which, awesome. And, yeah, he's also, we find out later he's a member of the White Lotus. But, again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So, yeah, Sokka's Master, pretty good episode, I think. Yeah, nothing else to really say about it. The Beach. This one is interesting because this is the one where Zuko, Zula, May, and Ty Lee all go to Ember Island. I don't think we ever actually see Team Avatar in this episode at all. It's completely dedicated to the antagonists, and it's really just a day at the beach kind of thing. They go, Ty Lee gets hit on by, like, every guy on the beach. Zuko and May are kind of just bickering at each other. Watching Azula, like, try to flirt is just hysterical. It's funny because, like, Azula was always portrayed as being, like, so on top of things and just, like, in a sense, like, perfect. But she's apparently not very good. She's even more awkward than her brother when it comes to flirting. Like, she tries to flirt with that guy, I think his name's, like, Chant, like Chant and Ron John or whatever. And, like, she's, like, flirting with him and talking about how, like, his outfit is, like, so sharp it could puncture the battleship of some whatever, leaving hundreds and thousands to drown or die at sea. Because, it's so sharp or something. And it's just like, what the fuck is even going on right now? It's, but I think the highlight of this episode is, like, towards the end when all 4 of them are sitting around that campfire and they're all talking about their life stories. And, even Azula kind of gets emotional for a second. I mean, she doesn't cry or anything, but she's just like, like, my own mother thought that I was a monster. And, then she ends it with, like, she was right, of course, but it still hurt. You almost get the sense that it's like, it obviously kind of bothers her a little that her mother, that she thinks her mom had a resentment towards her. Obviously, that's not the case. We find out in the graphic novel, I think it's The Search, that's not at all the case. Her mother absolutely loved her. It was just, Zula had this idea that she hated her, and it kind of tormented her. But yeah, The Beach, it's a pretty funny episode. It has a lot of funny moments. It's not the most memorable, but one that sticks out to me. Alright, here we go. The Avatar and the Fire Lord. This is actually the episode after The Beach. Yeah, so what's this episode basically, much like The Storm, it kind of relates the Fire Lord and the Avatar. It also shows us how the 100-Year War eventually came to start. It shows how Roku and Sozin were best friends, and like Roku, how his we see glimpses of his journey into becoming the Avatar, and how he basically spared Sozin, and because of that, eventually Roku would go on to die, and Sozin had the chance to save him, but he didn't. Also, interesting enough, I didn't know this for a long time, but Ron Perlman actually voiced Fire Lord Sozin in this episode, and that's freaking awesome. So, yeah. We also find out in this episode that Zuko's great-grandfather was Avatar Roku. So he's got Avatar blood in his veins, essentially. And it's really, like I said, it's really cool. I really like this episode. It's not, I don't think it's quite as good as The Storm, but it's still pretty solid on its own merit. The Puppet Master is another episode that really sticks out to me. It is so creepy. It's the episode with that water tribe lady, Hama, the old lady that the Team Avatar runs into. And at first, she's seemingly kind of harmless, that kind of thing, and and she's actually a waterbending master from the Southern Water Tribe. And she's teaching Katara some new waterbending techniques, and it's really cool to see like some of the stuff she teaches Katara, like how to pull water out of plants and how to pull water straight out of the air, and like how to what to do with that kind of stuff. And this is also where we learn about bloodbending, and oh my god, it's so fucking creepy. Like the animation and the way the way they make the bodies like just all twist and turn, and it just looks like somebody being possessed or some shit. I mean, it's just downright scary. And the lady that does Hama's voice actually did Dot from Animaniacs, I guess. Which is just mind-boggling to me that Dot, the lady that did Dot is also doing Hama, and I mean, she did an amazing job. I mean, Hama is so creepy in this episode. Everything, and just bloodbending in general is just such a terrifying concept. It's, and then like Katara ends up learning how to do it reluctantly. She has to do it to save Sokka and Aang from essentially killing each other. And yeah, like I said, just the way that they animated the bodies moving around and like twisting up and shit when they would move, just it's so fucking creepy. It's so good though, really good. All right, so the Day of Black Sun. I'm gonna talk about both parts as if they were one episode. But and this so this was the day of the invasion kind of thing. It's they Team Avatar, they essentially decided to put like a ragtag team together of their friends and allies, Sokka's words, not mine, to invade the Fire Nation on the Day of Black Sun kind of thing. And yeah, so this episode is cool because we see all these past characters. Not every past character that they've ran into, but the majority of them. You know, we see the boulder, the hippo, guys from the swamp, the people that took over at the Northern Air Temple. Uh, we see some of the Water Tribe guys like Bato and that kind of stuff, and it's it's really cool to see those characters again. They obviously they're all fighting the Fire Nation. They're going to invade, and basically everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Aang tries to go after the Fire Lord to end the war, end Fire Lord Ozai. And they end up hiding him in like a secret bunker. Zula also distracts Aang, Toph, and Sokka to burn all the time, no pun intended, for the eclipse. Then you have the moment I mentioned earlier about Zuko having a really cool moment when he decides to side with Azula at the Crossroads of Destiny. That cool moment I was talking about also happens in part 2, and it's when he confronts Fire Lord Ozai and basically tells him off. You, my father, who banished me just for speaking out of term, my father, who challenged me, a 13-year-old boy, to an Agni Kai. How can you possibly justify a duel with a child? And Ozai tries to hand him it was to teach you respect, and Zuko barks back, it was cruel, and it was wrong. But another line that always stuck out to me was, growing up, we were always taught that the Fire Nation was the greatest nation in the world, and that the war was our way of sharing our greatness with the rest of the world. But what an amazing lie that was. The rest of the world the world is terrified of the Fire Nation. They don't see our greatness. They hate us, and we deserve it. I mean, can you tell I've watched that scene like too many times? I think I botched a few quotes here and there, but the Day of Black Sun, part 1 and 2, ends on like another very kind of like a low note. Most of them, except for the youngest of the group, get captured. And then, the last thing we see is Zuko actually following Aang and Team Avatar, or, what's left of Team Avatar anyway. You see Zuko following him in that Fire Nation air balloon, and it just kind of gives you like a feeling of optimism. It's like, oh, here we go. Finally, we've come full circle here. Zuko is full on good, and he's gonna join Team Avatar, and they're gonna turn the tide. They're gonna turn the tide of the war, that kind of thing. So moving on, next episode I really want to talk about is the Firebending Masters. This is the one where Zuko and Aang go to the civilization of the ancient Sun Warriors to discover the secret of firebending, since Zuko's firebending is not really working, and come to find out it's because he lost his drive. His drive was to capture the Avatar, and then obviously his goals changed. He now wants to help the Avatar. So they got to go to this they gotta go to this ancient civilization called the Sun Warriors and see if they can find something that'll teach them the true art of the true style and art of firebending, like how to actually, like, the true meaning behind firebending, I should say, not the art and style, but like, yeah, and they end up actually running into the a group of people that are called the Sun Warriors, and they they're judged by these dragons that deem Aang and Zuko worthy of learning the real basic, the true meaning of firebending, and it's just beautifully animated. I mean, the fire that these dragons blow, it's in different colors, like, like blue, purple, green, and it's just gorgeously animated. And we also find out in this episode what happened to the dragons, and it's kind of sad in a way. Like Sozin, he started the tradition of hunting dragons, and Iro was said to have killed the last one, and that's how he garnered the nickname the Dragon of the West. But come to find out, he actually lied to protect the last two, whose names were, I think it was like Ran and Shaw or something. Ran and Shaw. I'm not sure if it's Shaw or Shaw. So, but Firebending Masters is one of my favorite episodes because it was really cool to get, like, a sense of, like, the true meaning behind firebending, and this, like I said, gorgeously animated at the end with all the fire. So, just a really good episode overall. Next episode I want to talk about is the Southern Raiders. This episode is just pure awesomeness. This is the one where Zuko and Katara go to confront the man that killed her mother, her and Sokka's mom, I should say. We also get, like, we get the backstory on how that all went down, and it's just really sad to hear the story of how it went down. Essentially, Katara's mom made the ultimate sacrifice to protect her. She lies to the guy and says, I am the last waterbender, take me as your prisoner. And he's like, oh, I'm not taking prisoners today. And he kills her. So, Zuko and Katara end up tracking this guy down. And when we see this guy, he's like this old, he's an old man, and he's still living with his mom, and I mean, she's just a total bitch to him, like yelling at him, like, go get me some vegetables from the market. Your vegetables are too hard for my gums. And he's like, okay. And when just before Katara goes to kill him, like with the ice, he pretty much, like, he tells her, like, I did a bad thing. You deserve revenge. So why don't you take my mom? That'll be fair, right? He's like throwing his own mom under the bus, and it's like, oh my god, like, fuck this guy. This guy's such a piece of shit. But I mean, at the same time, his mom is, we've seen it, she's kind of a bitch, Granted, we only saw her for like a glimpse, but yeah, it was just really funny to hear him be like, oh, why don't you go take my mom? That'll be fair. God, I can't get over that. It's just so fucking funny. But just a really good episode overall. She doesn't kill him. She also doesn't forgive him. But, she forgives Zuko. They become friends. And, I'll be honest with you guys. I am one of those fans that thinks Zuko and Katara I would have liked to have seen them over Aang and Katara. Not that I can't see Aang and Katara together. It's just, personally, I thought I would have liked to have seen the writers do some kind of like opposites attract kind of thing with Zuko and Katara. But, you know, it is what it is. It's just my opinion. Yeah, moving on. The Ember Island players, I won't spend too much time talking about this one since, for the most part, it's just a series recap. But it's done in such a funny ass way. It's almost like the show is like making fun of itself in a strange way. You know, you got a girl playing Aang on the stage. You got Katara's actress is always crying and, you know, like, oh, I'm so full of hope. And you know, you got Sokka, everything he says is about food. And they got Zuko. One of the funniest moments to me is like, you know, the fucking, like, oh my god, they make me look so stiff and humorless. And, you know, Katara says, actually, I think that actor is spot on. He goes like, how can you say that? And then the actor actually says it like right after, how can you say that? And it's like, oh my god. It's just so funny. Then you got Toph being played by like this big buff guy, and I think her reaction is just so freaking funny, you know, like, yeah, like I said, nothing really much to say about this one. It's just so freaking funny to hear them all react to like the Fire Nation's depiction of them. And it's like the show is essentially making fun of itself. So, yeah, just, you know, really funny stuff. Alright, this is the last set of episodes I'm going to talk about. It's a 4-parter. It's the Sozin's Comet, the 4-part series finale, I should say. God damn it, series finale. Where do I even begin? The first 2 episodes are essentially just kind of set up for the broader thing. You know, you got Aang going through the dilemma of how to take care of the Fire Lord. He doesn't want to kill him, but, you know, at the same time he knows, it's like, well, I got to do something. I can't let this guy do what he's doing. And, you know, he also learns how to redirect lightning and that kind of stuff. You know, like I said, it ends with Aang and Momo going off on some journey, and they end up on the back of a giant lion turtle. And, you know, then part 2, you have, again, a lot of setup. The gang is trying to find Aang and Momo. I did it again, I rhymed. But Team Avatar essentially tries to find where Aang is. They can't find where he is, so they look for Iro. They find, you know, Jong, Boomy, and PM Dao, Paku. Basically all the members of the White Lotus. And we also get the scene with Zuko reuniting with Iro, which is really heartbreaking. Not heartbreaking, I should say. It's touching. It's more touching than anything. It's touching on its own. And yeah, like it's again, like I said, a lot of setup in this one, much like the first one. You know, you have Aang talking to his past lives, and he's trying to come up with a solution to take care of the Fire Lord without taking his life. They all essentially tell him, like, no, dude, you just have to take his life. You don't have a choice. And he gets the you know, he stumbles upon the lion turtle, and he gains the ability to energy bend. And you know, then we go into part 3. This is basically the start of all the action. This is where the White Lotus goes to free Ba Sing Se. Aang fights Fire Lord Ozai. You have Zuko going up against Zula for the throne. in the what's called the final Agni Kai. Great fucking fight between them two as well. I think it might be my favorite fight in the whole show. Might be my favorite battle. Besides Aang and Ozai, I thought Aang and Ozai was pretty good. You know, you have Sokka, Toph, and Suki taking care of the air fleet, which has a lot of like awesome moments in it itself. We have Toph metal bending and beating the shit out of those guards. You have that really funny moment with Sokka saying, you're like, oh, attention crew, everyone meet at the bottom of the thing. We have a very special birthday to celebrate. Everyone's like kind of, you know, standing around like, oh, I wonder whose birthday it is. Like, what are we here for, you know? And then you have that guy, and he's like, I can't believe the captain remembered my birthday. He really does care. And then, like, they all get dropped in the ocean, and the guy, you know, he pops out, he goes, happy birthday. You know, it's just so funny. Again, little moments like that really add to this show and its popularity. It's just it's really funny. You know, it's a really funny moment. You have a lot of awesome action in this episode. Like I said, the final Agni Kai between Zuko and Azula. You know, Zula tries to, you know, Zuko pretty much kind of has the edge on her. At first, it's kind of two-sided. Then he like does that spin where he basically surrounds himself with his own fire and you know, he pretty much knocks her over and kind of taunts her like, no lightning today? What's the matter? Afraid I'll redirect it? You know, and she charges up a blast and goes to hit Katara with it. And Zuko takes the shot and manages to redirect the lightning, but he actually, I guess he still has some of the electricity flowing through him and it's killing him. And he says he's out, you know, he's out for the rest of the fight. Then it kind of shifts to Zula versus Katara, which is pretty cool because you have Zula basically losing her mind and just kind of moving around kind of jerkishly. And, you know, like I said, you could tell she's clearly losing her mind. She is losing it, or pretty much has lost it. And, it's, episode part 3 ends with Ozai kind of telling Aang, you know, like, your people didn't deserve to live in this world. In my world, prepare to join them, prepare to die, and you know, goes to like firebend and blast him. And then, you know, part 4 kicks off exactly where that left off. Gets knocked into a thing of rocks, and the final chakra that was blocked by Azula shooting him with lightning ends up opening. He reestablishes his connection to his chakras, and he goes into the Avatar state and just beats the shit out of Ozai from that point on. Strips him of his bending via energy bending, and kind of, you know, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. I remember when I first saw it, I didn't like that Aang essentially just took away Ozai's firebending, but much like the ending to Season 2, I think I've kind of flipped my opinion on it, and the reason being is it really is interesting to see Aang, like, have to find a way to both bring balance to the world, but also he tries to stick to his principles and what he was taught. So yeah, it's just interesting to see all that kind of come to fruition. And, you know, yeah, you got the happy ending where Sokka's doing the painting and it looks like absolute crap. And, you know, you got, finally Aang and Katara get together at the end. I know I said personally I preferred Zuko and Katara, but, you know, it is what it is. Whatever. Again, not that I can't see Aang and Katara together. Just, you know, the romance in Avatar: The Last Airbender wasn't really the strongest, at least for me, in my opinion. So, yeah, but overall, the show, absolutely amazing. Cannot say enough good things about it. You know, and really just something else that is so great about the show, and I kind of talked about it as I went through all my favorite episodes. But the characters in this show are just absolutely amazing. You have Zuko. I think Zuko has one of the best redemption arcs I've ever seen put to any kind of form of media or entertainment. Katara is a very strong character in her right. You know, Aang is also a great character. Sokka, Toph, Iro. I mean, this show is just packed to the brim. I can't say enough good things about it. You know, its storytelling elements are very strong. Its morals, its message, everything about it. It's a really good show. Great show. Cannot recommend it enough. And, you know, I guess I'll wrap it up by kind of talking about the influence that the show has had on me as a person, and, well, maybe really just my own little projects here and there. I love storytelling. It's one of my passions, and this show has played a huge influence on me as far as some of my storytelling elements go. And as far as, I'm actually, at the moment, I'm planning on writing a comic book series that I'm going to write and illustrate myself. And eventually I'd love to upload them to YouTube in the form of, like, I don't know, a video where I just kind of do a little voice acting here and there. But, anyway, Avatar: The Last Airbender has played an influence in a lot of aspects in what I'm writing and what I'm doing right now with some of the projects I'm taking care of right now. And I just think, like I said, this is easily one of my favorite shows. Funny enough, when I was like a lot younger, I used to hate the show. I don't know why, but I just did. Then I watched it. I'm like, damn, this show is amazing. It's really deep. This is a good show. It's a great show. And like I've said about 1,000 times, it's one of my favorite shows to date. I think it's one of the best TV shows that has ever come out. And, yeah, I really cannot say enough good things about it. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, that's about where I'm going to wrap it up for this installment of CuJo's Corner. This is easily one of the longest installments I've ever done, but hey, it is what it is. I love talking. I love talking to you guys. And I love talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, with that said, go ahead and throw in the comment section below your thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender, some of your favorite episodes, some of your favorite moments. What do you think of the show? Has it influenced you at all? Are you also a storyteller? Has it influenced your storytelling at all? Basically everything I just talked about as far as Avatar: The Last Airbender goes. Go ahead and throw it in the comment section below. I would definitely love to hear from you guys. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and hop off now. And until next time, I'm Justin Crumley. Catch y'all later.